Hello, fellow Earthlings. It's great to be talking to you. It's a pretty hot week here on Earth, but in Bristol, England, it is cool as a cucumber. I can get off and walk and bike everywhere, and I love it. Today's high is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It's time to start with a fabulous fact about this Earth of ours. And here's something that I was amazed to find out. There are actually 11,500 species of grass that grow here. I mean, that's huge. And some people say that actually it's up to 13,000. People who study grass, by the way, are called agrostologists, which I did not know. Isn't that cool? I've been reading this book, Eager, The Surprising History of Beavers and Why They Matter by Ben Goldfarb. And it is fascinating. It blew my mind. I've always liked beavers and was very excited when my dad and mom had them on their land when I was in my 20s, but I didn't realize how much they have shaped American and European history. Ben Goldfarb, in a very fun and approachable way, shows us how Europeans came in and their greed for beaver pelts completely reshaped the land, the economy, and pretty much everything that came after. First, the Russians came to California before any of the other Europeans even thought about it, and they cleared out the beavers so completely that later residents of the area thought that they weren't even native. And of course, they traumatized Native Americans by forcing them to catch and kill the beavers as well. Then, when the other Europeans came in on the other side, they wiped out the beavers as completely as they could, including killing millions of them. So, all the dry areas in the middle of the US, for example, didn't look like that several hundred years ago. The beavers would have made them much wetter and much more full of plants and abundance of nature. I learned that beavers are an overlooked species that are ecosystem engineers who can actually help fix a lot of the problems that humans have caused. So if you're worried about drought, if you're worried about floods, if you're worried about heat, if you're worried about cold, if you're worried about things drying out and not having enough green space, then beavers can help with all of that. Beaver dams create nice areas of calm water and squishy land around it that acts as a sponge and absorbs water. So if there's too much, it's safely locked in there. If there's not enough, there's still plenty of water for things to grow. I've barely scratched the surface, but the book also goes into some details about the current situation and how beavers are being restored to America and Europe and how they can further be restored, and includes some of the ways that people are encouraging beavers back and are encouraging people to understand how it works. So I definitely recommend this book. I also want to thank my son, who's a university student studying geography and the environment, who recommended this book. So I also learned that there is a term called Keystone Species, which beavers are an example of. So we already know one very important keystone species is bees. If bees disappear, a lot of things above and below them on the food chain disappear. And same thing with beavers. Their presence actually is beneficial to everything from bugs to fish fry to, which are baby fish, to moose, to even livestock, to birds. A lot of birds actually really like those ponds as a place for themselves so they can nest in the trees and have a nice source of water and little baby fish. So beavers are a keystone species, and when they are returned to the environment, it helps every other species basically in the environment. So it's pretty exciting to know that there are experts out there that are ready to do what needs to be done to solve a lot of our problems, and they'll work for free. So I highly, highly recommend the book. I think he has a really fun style to read. He's funny. And if you want to learn about overlooked species that can really help us make our life and our world better, beavers. So if you want a really quick action that you can do, basically anywhere you live in the United States or Europe, you can just write to your local council, write to your or call your representatives and just tell them, hey, I've recently learned that beavers are a keystone species and they can really help our environment bounce back from all the damage that humans have done. I'd really like to make sure that our laws support restoring them to our waters. So give it a try. So, our featured Earthlings today are people at the Methow Beaver Project in Washington State in the United States. And they say that they provide solutions to support landowners, restoration professionals, and educators in understanding the benefits of beavers, the importance of coexistence, and helping beavers with our ecosystem, for our wildlife, for our community, and for all of us. They do some pretty groundbreaking work, not only with helping landowners who might have questions or troubles about coexisting with beavers, but with actually transporting beavers from one site to another. If there's a place that is not working out for the beavers, they are able to move them to a different state or a different area that will be better. So they're on the ground, moving actual beavers from one place to another, caring for them at their facility, and then making sure that they can be safely and happily restored to a different place. So that's very exciting to me. I love that that's a job. And I'm really happy that this idea of beavers is catching on. And I hope that you guys will check it out. I did this action. I contacted the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, and it was easy. I found his website and they had a form, share your opinion with us. And so while I was at it, since I'd never contacted him before, I not only talked about beavers, clean air, clean water, the environment in general, and clean energy, but I also mentioned a few other important things to me, like being able to have the freedom to choose and being able to have fair maps for voting, etc. But the whole thing only took me less than 10 minutes, and if I had just concentrated on the environment, it would have been 5 for sure. So there you go, give it a try. I have an ongoing experiment to see if I can grow vegetables and things that I can eat in my flat, which has zero outdoor space. And so far, it is really going quite well. I would say that the most successful experiment has been growing my little lettuces in the window boxes. And one packet of seeds costs £1 at Wilco, and I've gotten at least 5 successive plantings out of it. And, you know, you get enough for 2 salads every 2 weeks. I mean, it's not going to be the only greens you ever need, or it's not going to replace trips to the grocery store, but it was definitely cost effective. A little catch up with me personally. Since the last episode, I had a wonderful jaunt through Europe with my son. He is on vacation from university, and he was a wonderfully relaxed and flexible travel partner, which was really nice because, of course, being chronically ill, I'm not ever sure what I could do in a certain day. And so when I wasn't able to do a lot, we just hung out in the hotel room and it was fine. But we went to France, we went to Belgium, we went to Luxembourg. Luxembourg was amazing. From an eco point of view, it was much greener than I anticipated. And also, there's free travel throughout the entire country. Who knew? Apparently, my son said that they have that in Colombia as well. So that's an option I didn't know that was available. We took many different kinds of transportation while we were there, from city elevators between the high and low parts of the city, to trams, to a funicular train, to buses, to regular trains. So it was phenomenal. If anyone gets a chance to go to Luxembourg, I highly recommend it. France was a lot of fun. We went to Arras, which is a northern city, which was not a tourist place at all. And I was very pleased to see that my year of watching Netflix French television shows had really paid off. It really brought back a lot of the French that I used to know, and I was actually able to get around and make ourselves understood. My son only knows Spanish, so that was a great challenge, and I love languages, so it was a good time. Let's end with some food for thought What if we did this? Something that I think about all the time is what if all walls of buildings were green walls? What if we had little pockets of plants going all the way up? And there are some in Bristol that I already love that have these little square containers that literally just go all the way up. And it looks like someone comes and waters them every few days. So obviously you have to figure out how would they get watered if you're in a dry area. But just think of so much vertical space that we have in our cities that even if 1% of them were transformed into green walls, we would have beautiful coolness coming from that green because, you know, places that are very dense with buildings are also a lot hotter because trees and other green things cool it down. You could also possibly grow things. I mean, what if you were actually able to grow edible plants up and down the buildings? You could have things at the bottom for maybe small animals and grazing deer or whatever you want to cultivate. They could come up and take it, and then on the top you could have things for birds. In the middle you could have things for people. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I hope you have a good day on Earth.